So, how much was I pre-approved for? Drum roll, please. So back in June, I started the process of finding and buying my first home. So if you've been watching my videos for the past year, you know that I've been saving money every month. Every month I do a budget, and you've been seeing like a certain percentage that I set aside every month to save up for the house. So back in June, I finally reached a certain goal that I felt like it was enough money for me to start the home buying process. I had in mind one lender in particular that I was probably going to go with, and we'll talk about that more in the video. But with them, I wouldn't have to do any money down. I would only have to pay for closing costs. So I estimated the amount of home that I would want to purchase, or at least like the mortgage amount that I would need. And then from there, I kind of calculated backwards to figure out how much I would have to pay in closing costs. And I was thinking that it would cost like a few $1,000s, like less than 10, definitely. But I wanted money for closing costs as well as moving all of my stuff from my apartment into the home. So I was thinking like 7,000 should be a good number. So back in June, I reached that number and I decided to start the home buying process. So for this video, I'm going to talk about the very first thing that I had to do outside of saving the money. First, I had to get pre-qualified for a mortgage. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to talk about how much I got approved for, how much my interest rate is, any like special perks that went with that lender or that came with that lender, and then all of the type of questions that they asked during the pre-qualification process. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. Okay, so first let's talk about the lender. Now, again, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you know that I keep mentioning this credit union, and I didn't want to just automatically go with them. So I did do this process with that credit union, which is local to where I'm at, that credit union, and then like a couple of bigger like nationwide banks, as well as one of those like online lenders, like I'm trying to remember exactly who I went with, and if I remember, I'll put it on the screen, but like a Loan Depot type of place. But again, if I remember this specific one, I'll put it on the screen. Now, for me, after going through each one of those different lenders, I ended up getting, in my opinion, the best deal from the credit union. So that is who I went with. Now, the big things that made me choose the credit union, as I've mentioned, they have 0% down, so no down payment. Other traditional loans, or what is it called? Conventional loans, you have to put like 3.5% down. It's a myth that people think that you have to put 20% down. You don't. But if you don't put 20% down, then you have to pay what's called PMI, which stands for private mortgage insurance. You have to pay that until you have paid off 20% of the homes, or 20% of your loan that you borrowed. But with this credit union, I don't have to pay any PMI, even though I put down less than 20% or 0% in my case. So that was another thing that was really attractive to me for why I chose this credit union, because like PMI can be like a big part of your loan, or at least like of your monthly payments rather. Like it's very easy for that to be like hundreds of dollars, depending on how much your house is worth, of course. But the fact that I don't have to pay any, that's really attractive to me. So how much was I pre-approved for? Drum roll, please. $275,000. That's how much I was approved for a loan, and with an interest rate of 3.75%. Now, is it possible to get a lower interest rate somewhere else? Yes, I do think that I could get an interest rate lower with going with a different lender, but those other lenders don't have 0% down, and they don't have no PMI, or they don't have 0 PMI. So it's like, in my situation, because I don't have enough money up front, and I would also want to save money every month with the no PMI, that's why it's worth it to me to pay a slightly larger interest rate, even though I know on the back end, Like even a slightly larger interest rate can still like cost you a lot of money over time, over the entire length of the loan. But yeah, I'm still making this decision based off of the reasons that I've already said. So that is how much I was approved for. And just so that you know, this like pre-qualification or this pre-approval quote that they'll give you, it is not permanent. It has an expiration date. So it's literally just like permission for you to go and shop for a house, because it doesn't make any sense for you to start looking at homes and it's worth $330,000 and you don't have $330,000 in your bank, do you, in your bank account, right? So you have to go to someone and ask them for that money. It doesn't make sense for you to shop for a house if you don't already know that the bank would give you $330,000. So you have to get pre-approved first so that you know what is the max amount that I can look at. For me, I was approved for $275,000, so it doesn't make any sense for me to go and look at $400,000 homes. It doesn't even make sense for me to look at $280,000 homes, because the bank will only loan me $275,000, and unless you are someone who can cover that cash difference, I'm not one of those people, but unless you can, then I guess you could, but I guess you could shop for like the $280,000 house or whatever, is your loan amount. You could shop for more than that if you're willing to pay cash for the difference between what the bank can give you and what the house is on sale for. I hope that makes sense. And also, as I was saying, like it's not a permanent quote. Like for mine, it only lasted for 60 days. So if I went shopping for 60 days and wasn't able to find a house, then I would have to go through the entire pre-approval process again, because my original quote expired. So that's how much I was pre-approved for. So now I just want to go through the types of questions that will be on the pre-qualification process or application, just so that you're aware of what type of things you should know before you start the process. So first, they wanted me to know like what type of loan I was looking for. So one option is a pre-qualification, which is what I did. So I was shopping for a house and I didn't already have an accepted contract with the seller. Or you could need like to just purchase a home. So you're purchasing a home and you've already accepted a contract with the seller. So that was what I was saying before. If you had already like found the house that you wanted and you just needed the bank. But pre-qualification is you just want to shop and you haven't already found your home yet. Or you could be refinancing. That's another type of loan. Or you could want to refinance an already existing balance. That's for your loan. So you'd like to refinance the remaining mortgage balance for your home. Or you can refinance to obtain cash. So that's when you refinance the house and then you would get cash at closing. So those are the different types that they offered to me that I could select. And so I selected pre-qualification. Next, they wanted to know like who is actually applying for this. Is it just you? Is it you and your spouse, or just you and another person? Or are more than two people gonna be applying for this loan? In my case, it's just me, myself, and I. Next, they wanted to know like how will I be using the home? Meaning, are you actually going to live in it? Like, is it going to be your primary residence? Or is this a vacation home? Like you got money like that just to have a vacation home? Or is this going to be something that you rent out? So is this like an investment property for you or a rental property for you? Again, in my case, this is going to be my primary residence. Next, they wanted me to say like estimated property details. And for me, that was kind of hard because they wanted to know what state it was going to be in. And I already knew like what state I was going to buy, but they wanted to know the county. And for me, I didn't know exactly at the time that I was doing this. I didn't know which specific area I wanted to live in. Like there were multiple places in my like neighboring counties that I was interested in living. So I didn't know which one exactly, so I just like picked one. So they said like, don't worry if it changes, but they just wanted like an idea. So the county, the city, an estimated purchase price that I was interested in, an estimated loan amount that I would be interested in, the real estate taxes, and an estimated closing date. Next, they wanted to know all about me, my name, social security, if I was a citizen, if I was married, if I've ever been known by another name, giving them permission to run a credit report on me. They wanted to know where I lived, my contact information. Let's see. Oh, also not just where I lived, but how I lived. Like, am I currently renting? Do I already own a property? Next, they wanted to know like the property type. So did I want a single family home? Did I want a condo? Did I want a townhome? Like, did I want a duplex or triplex or what, something like that. The amount of lot size that I was interested in. The building type, is it going to be like, is it freestanding or is it attached to something? Next, they wanted to know about my money. So I had to give them all of my like information from my various bank accounts. You guys, if you watch the channel, you know that I have like my primary checking account and a main savings account. I have my other savings account where all my sinking funds are. I have a different savings account where my emergency fund is. And I put in all of that information and they were like, you don't have enough money. And I was like, what? And it like kind of made me nervous. And then I was like, oh, well, where else do I have money at? And then I had to put in my retirement accounts. Like, I've thought of those and I was like, oh, well, that's money. It's not money that I'm going to touch for this or like anything really until I retire. You actually can use your retirement accounts to buy your first home, but that's not something that I want to do. But for this purpose, I did have to list out my retirement accounts and how much are in all of those accounts. And then once all of that was added up, then they said that it was like enough money for me to continue with the application. Next, they wanted to know about all of your debt. For me, I'm very fortunate that my only debt is my student loans. So I had to list that out. But if you have credit cards, you have to list that. Medical debt, auto loans, like any and all forms of debt, you have to list all of that out. They want to know where you work and how long have you worked there. You'll also have to submit like W-2s. So like do you guys know what a W-2 is? It's hard for me to explain, but it's like that piece of paper that you get like around, is that a tax return or is that something different? Now I'm confusing myself. But you'll have to prove that you have like working history and yes. It's either a W-2 or a tax return or maybe both. Just have both prepared just in case. They wanted to know if I've ever filed for bankruptcy. I have not, but they wanted to know that. They wanted to know, are there any outstanding judgments against you? Are you currently delinquent or in default on a federal debt? Are you a cosigner or a guarantor on any debt or loan that is not disclosed in this application? Do you have any open accounts that have been turned over to a collection agency? Within the past 7 years, have you completed a pre-foreclosure sale or short sale? Are you obligated to pay child support, alimony, or separate maintenance? And last, they wanted like demographic information, kind of like when you're applying for a job where they want to know like your race, your sex, ethnicity, all that type of stuff as well. So, long story short, too late. They want to know any and everything about you. They want to know your life. Be prepared to give all of this information to them. As far as how long it took to get an actual approval quote, not long. It didn't take less than a week, or it didn't take more than a week. It was a very short turnaround. Yeah. And I think for like these online companies like a Loan Depot, that was almost like instantly. And I don't think for the credit union, I don't think it was instant, but I think maybe like a couple days. It was quick. It was quick. And I will say, when you are doing this, it does ding your credit or decrease your credit score just a little bit. But if you are going to multiple lenders, it's not like it's every time you do that, it's gonna bring your credit score down. You know, like the credit bureaus, they kind of see that as just a one-time thing. Like, even though you went to 5 different lenders, they're gonna say like, oh, she's shopping for a house, so we'll just consider that as just one time of shopping for the house. So it'll only appear as like one thing on your credit score that you were shopping for a house, and it will bring it down slightly, but it's not going to be a huge amount, and it will come back up over time, over the next couple or few months. So I think that's all the information that I can think to share at this time. If I'm forgetting anything, or if I left anything out that you would want to know, leave some comments down below, and I hope this was helpful. In the next video that you guys should see, I think I'll start actually showing you me looking at homes and actually starting like the physical process of looking at a house or different houses, because I looked at a lot, as you guys will see. But first we had to get this, like the boring stuff out of the way. But I hope this was helpful. You will have to do this if you're going to get a mortgage, so hopefully you found some value out of me showing you what happened to me during this process, or how I went through the process. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave some comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel so that you can see more of this in the future, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.